Log number 5659 by Mr. Moulton. For what purpose does the gentleman from Massachusetts seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
Will the clerk please distribute the amendment without objection? Reading the amendments dispensed with. The chair recognizes the gentleman for the purpose of explaining his amendment.
Mr. Chairman, this bipartisan amendment is simply a sense of Congress that says what we all know is true if you take the politics out of it. And I'm grateful to Representative Bacon for working with me to ensure that we have taken the politics out of it. First, details of an active military operation shouldn't be sent to anyone on Signal, much less your wife, your brother, or a personal lawyer. And two, leaders worth following take accountability for their actions. So here are the facts, just the facts. We know the Secretary of Defense shared information that he should not have, in a manner in which he should not have, with people he should not have. We all know this information was classified, and in our hearing with us, the Secretary made clear by confirming that it came from CENTCOM. Now that would make Secretary Hegset's actions likely a crime, but even if in some fantasy world it was unclassified information, it was still wrong, dangerous, and in fact still illegal. Sharing the time on target and the weapons platforms associated with an airstrike over an unsecured platform put the success of the mission and the pilots of those aircraft at additional risk. And pretty much any junior service member, the most junior private in the National Guard where Secretary Hegset served, knows that. The Houthis, in fact, have extensive anti-aircraft capabilities and have shot down 7 U.S. aircraft. Think about that. 7 U.S. aircraft shot down over Yemen to date. Thankfully, no piloted ones yet. And that leads me to point 2. Secretary Hegset leads the largest organization in this country with close to 3 million people, an organization in which the single most important skill is leadership. It's the first lesson we learned at OCS. You can fail a test, you can drop out of a run, you'll probably get a chance to retake that test or do the run another day. But you lie about anything, you're gone. You go home. You learn it again when you get your job. My job description as a platoon commander was very simple. You're responsible for everything your platoon does or fails to do. Leadership alone is 40% of your grade in Marine officer training. The leadership skills of our NCO Corps is what makes our military second to none. Well, there's no quicker way to lose the respect of your team than holding yourself to a lower standard than you expect of them. Passing the buck, refusing to admit your mistakes, dodging accountability. Secretary Hegset, of course, promised that, quote, accountability is back at the Pentagon. But I struggle to understand whether he believes that accountability applies to him. In fact, I asked him that simple question myself a little over a month ago when he was sitting in this room, and he refused to answer 8 times. Our troops deserve good leadership, leadership that respects them enough not to needlessly increase the risks that they face in doing their jobs, keeping us all safe, in doing their jobs, serving our country. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes himself. This amendment, like the other 2 before it, is simply political posturing. There are policies and procedures already in place that govern this. Everyone with a clearance is briefed on proper handling of classified information. Therefore, I oppose the amendment. And with that, I now recognize the gentleman from Nebraska, Mr. Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I respect your opinion here. I do support this amendment, though. I've worked with my friend from Massachusetts on this. It strips out what I think is consequences that would hobble the OSD, but yet it lets us state the truth that what was done by the Secretary was not right. And by the way, I was a 5-time commander. None of us are perfect. We're flawed individuals. We make mistakes. But when you're in responsibility, you take responsibility when you make a mistake and you own up to it. And I think that's the real issue here with this incident. I think the Secretary knows he did wrong, but he doesn't acknowledge it, and therefore it doesn't go away. If he would just apologize up front, taking responsibility, we would not be having this discussion today. And I think this has hurt his credibility. And I share the sentiments. If I would have done this as a junior officer or as a brigadier general, I would have been disciplined for doing what was done by the Secretary. So I think this gives us an opportunity in this committee to put something on record that's saying this is wrong, but yet we're doing it in a way that's responsible and it doesn't hobble operations out of the Secretary of Defense or the Pentagon. And I think acknowledging the truth is very important. With that, I yield.
Gentleman yields back. Any additional members seek recognition? Mr. Vindman of Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I rise in support of Mr. Moulton's amendment that affirms a basic truth. The unauthorized sharing of national defense information, especially over unsecured, non-governmental platforms, endangers missions and puts American lives at risk. This is not a hypothetical. One of my constituents came up to me at a district event furious because her son was one of the fighter pilots in the air over Yemen during the breach known now as Signalgate. Secretary Hegset's careless use of unsecured apps may have compromised their entire operation. When I asked the Secretary if he'd like to apologize to this mother, whose son's life he put in danger, he looked at me in the eye and said, "I do not apologize." I think we all remember that moment. This amendment rightly reminds us that distributing classified information to unauthorized individuals is a crime under the Espionage Act. It also reminds us that core principles of military leadership, including setting the example and taking responsibility, must be uniform from private to general to Secretary of Defense. That standard must apply at every level, especially at the top. I urge my colleagues to stand up with our troops and national security community by adopting Mr. Moulton's common sense amendment. I do want to acknowledge and thank my colleague from Nebraska for speaking the truth today. Thank you. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Does any additional member seek recognition to speak on Mr. Moulton's amendment? Seeing none, there is. Dr. McCormick of Georgia is recognized.
I just want to address the fact that they say they want to take the politics out of this. We have 3 amendments on the same issue, knowing it will not pass. That's politicization. It will politicize and delay this process of the people's business. No lives were lost. The mission was accomplished. Follow-on missions have not had the same problems. Military recruiting is surging. The contracting process is being reformed, and we are back in the business of winning battles and wars. Unlike the previous administration where lives were lost, and we had abysmal withdrawal, we are doing things right again. This is a self-directed review of what went wrong and how to address this. I urge my colleagues to vote no on this amendment.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from New York, Mr. Ryan, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yield the balance of my time to Mr. Moulton.
You know, the definition of political courage is standing up to your own party. Politicizing things is not a bipartisan amendment. It's doing what's right by the troops. And I would challenge my colleague from Georgia to just go give that explanation to the Marines who served on your helicopters. To say, yeah, it's okay, go ahead and do this, there's no consequences. I don't think that would happen. And I do want to just once again praise the political courage and the leadership of my colleague from Nebraska, because I know he gets a lot of grief for doing things that go against this administration or are perceived to go against this administration, but that's what we got to do. And when Secretary Austin made his mistakes, we did demand accountability. And you didn't see me trying to defend it just in the name of mission accomplishment or not hobbling the Secretary of Defense or making things political. I was a Marine officer, not afraid to criticize the Secretary. And I think that's exactly the kind of leadership that we need from this committee. So thank you again, Congressman and General Bacon, for your leadership, your political courage. And I hope that we can get more bipartisan support for this common sense amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Does any other member seek recognition on Mr. Moulton's amendment? Seeing none, there's no further debate. The question occurs on the amendment offered by Mr. Moulton. So many as are in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
Noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to. A recorded vote's requested. The recorded vote is postponed until a later time.